عليكم ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Welcome. You're
How's the
welcome.
family, sir?
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. You're welcome.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, sir.
MashaAllah.
No, thank you, sir.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله. I greet all of you, brothers and sisters, on this segment or this first and maiden session for the super intensive Nahu session that we'll be having for the next 10 days. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us through, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the wisdom both from my side and your sides to be able to take home something that will benefit not only ourselves but the whole of the ummah and mankind as a whole. Without much, we would have to stick to time, and so I will straightforward go to the slides which I'm going to share with you. But before I do that, I would like to say this on record, that all of you here with us today are not going to be taught now for your information. I just want to make this clear so that the ground rule is understood. I'm not going to teach you Nahu, but I have just these methods of teaching the Nahu, which I just want to share. And that is the reason why I requested that those joining us must be people who are in the field of teaching Arabic and Nahu in particular in our madaris. And they have been teaching this for a long time. And probably a lot of their markets or the persons they teach have background in English. So this particular course is just going to give you a method, another way and of teaching Nahu, not to substitute what you have, but to tell you that, look, there is another way which, when you look at, could probably enhance the method with which we teach Nahu, particularly when majority of our students speak English. So I just wanted to make this clear so that none of you would think that I'm bringing anything new from what you already know. All what we are going to learn here is, okay, this is a method and there's a new way of doing it. Can we just look at it again and again and again and see if really it can benefit us in understanding the Nahu and furthermore understanding the Quran. The second thing is the last statement I make. The purpose for this particular kind of or method of teaching the Nahu is not for you to speak language or to speak the language grammatically, no, but for you to be able to comprehend the verses of the Quran. So because Quran is in Arabic, learning the Nahu gives you more ground and more insight into the verse. So even as a layman who doesn't know the knowledge of tafsir and deep Arabic language, if you are able to go through this method of knowing Nahu, it's very easy for you to deduct or to deduce in the verses certain understanding even before you go into the translation. So that is the purpose for which we are having this particular project. It's a project. And for your information, this is not going to be only the first the first batch or the only batch, but we are going to have another in October and November. So for some of you who might not be very good or might not be very good in Nahu, in understanding some of the things that I will be saying, which will be moving actually in a very fast pace, please don't be perturbed, don't feel worried. You will get it as we go along, as well as the fact that we are going to do it again and again, and you are free to join the next batch in October and the one in November, because this is a well compressed subject from the point of view of this particular program as we are doing it now. But later, probably in the next year, there is an offer for you to join us to have the detailed program itself, so that if you join us there, maybe you have more time for you to grasp the method. May Allah give us the understanding. Jazakumullah khair. So straight, I will go into the slides, and I will share with you what we will be doing today and going forward. I hope you can see my slides. And as we said, I have shared with you the protocol that we will be using in this program. Please bear with me and let's go accordingly. All your questions will be in the text message, and most preferably everybody should be muted. When I finish and there are questions that need to come to my attention directly, the TS will send it to me privately and I will address them. The ones that they will be able to deal with, they will deal with it in the text message. And so please don't be worried so much about the questions. Most probably, I would not be able to pick any question as we go, but definitely your questions are going to be answered by the TAs or by myself at the right moment and at the right time, inshallah. So, and definitely in the chart where you have the guests or you have all the participants, you might be having some who are, I'm going to make them co-hosts now, at least for you to identify them for the sake of this program. And they will always be the co-hosts and they will be assisting in answering some of your questions as we go along. Abdul Majid is there. Ustaz Abdul Majid, Ustaz Abdul Manaf, as well as Ustadha Medina. Inshallah, they will be there to support and guide us through the questions and answers as we go along, inshallah. Okay. 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 So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. Once again, we are going to start this session. And so the first slide here, I'm going to take you through the timings. The first session or the first segment will normally start from 10 a.m. to 10:20 a.m. GMT. And then the second segment, after 5 minutes of break, will start from 10:25 GMT to 10:45 GMT. The third segment would be from 10:50 to 11 a.m. GMT. And then the fourth one would follow from 11:15 to 11:35 GMT. And then the last segment will be from 11:40 to 12 noon, inshallah. Now, definitely some of you who attended the first, the segments that we had on Saturday would have seen the explanation I had or I made on this particular ayah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِّرٍ. That certainly we, Allah says, we have made the Quran easy for remembrance. But is there anyone who will mind or who will be mindful? That tells us that Quran should not be made difficult. Quran should be made easy because Allah himself has made it easy. But we always have had this notion that the language of Al-Quran is very difficult. And so we agreed in the last session, and I did my best to explain that we would always have to be finding ways to make it easy for people to read, to understand, and so on. And the effort has always been made, and it's still being made. And this is just one of that kind of an effort to make the comprehension of Al-Quran or comprehending of Al-Quran easy for everyone. So don't forget that. Now, according to me, is actually the study that looks into the ending sound or combination of Arabic words and how that affects the relationship between words in a sentence. This is, of course, deduced from all the definition, the normal definition that a lot of you know about Nahu, but I'm not defining it that way. I'm just making it, you know, very easy for a layman to understand. That Nahu has to do with the ending sounds and ending combinations of words. That means the u, a, I that we hear, and then the ani, ina, una that we hear at the end of the word. Or sometimes we hear a or e or u without even the a, I, u. These sounds are the things that determine the position or the status of the word in a sentence. This needs to be well noted. And as we go, please, you are going to be noting a lot of things because it's going to be fast. And if you don't get things well as we go, it's going to be difficult because the basics need to be well seated. And that's why I advise that today, if you miss today's lesson, I better advise that you shouldn't continue because it's going to be more and more confusing, right? Good. So looking at this definition, our concentration now is going to be on the ending sounds and what we call the ending combination. Combination means combination of letters and sounds. So not only sounds make the ending, sometimes you have the combination of letters as well as sounds. That is all about Nahu. So when I say Muhammadun, Muhammadan, Muhammadin, Muhammadani, Muhammaduna, Muhammadina, for instance, Fatimatun, Fatimatin, those endings are what determine the relationship that that word would have with its neighboring words, and therefore, you know, determining the meaning of the expression, be it a verse, a hadith, or any Arabic expression. Okay. Now let's look at what we will be looking at in this particular course. Generally, we will be looking at the structure of the language itself. If we miss to understand what the structure of the language is, we are going to miss everything. So most importantly, we are going to learn what the structure of Arabic itself is. But believe me, brothers, this slide is very key in the whole program, because if you get it right here and keep it as a picture in your mind, then as we move, you will know exactly where we are and where we need to move from, right? Okay, now this is how the structure looks like. There are three types of words in Arabic. So we have the types of words in Arabic, okay? That is the kalimat. Any kalima in Arabic is of three types. This we need to keep in our mind. And there are 4 different properties of one of them, which is the ism. We will come, of course, and look at it even more clearer. But the most important thing for us to note here is the 3 types of words, okay? One of them is the ism, the major one, and it has 4 properties. Then we come to the fragment. The fragments are 5 different types. So this first part is about kalima, and this second part is about fragment. Fragments are not kalima, but they are more than kalima. So you have 2 words, kalimatan, 2 words making up a fragment in Arabic. So we have one words, kalimat, have 3 types. And we have two words that come together to make a concept. We have 5 types of those, right? And then we have certain things we call the invisible words. There are 2 in Arabic. 2 invisible words in Arabic. We are going to learn them. And that is, in English, you call them off and a, the letter A and the word off. Both of these words, they do not exist in Arabic. So you need to note them down. And then the last part here is the 2 types of sentences that we are going to learn. So we have jumla ismiya and fi'liya. We are going to learn details about them, but this particular slide gives you a high level, structure of the language, made up of kalimat and made up of fragments, which is murakkabat, naqisa. We call them fragments because they are more than one word, but they are less than a sentence. And then we having something we call the invisible two in Arabic. Those are in English. When you say that is the definite article as well as the word of. These two words do not exist in Arabic, but we get to know how do we detect them in our understanding of Arabic. Then the last one is the sentence. So now look, pay attention to these lines. The 3 kinds of words, 5 kinds of fragments, and 2 types of sentences. Again, 3 kinds of words, 5 types of fragments, and 2 types of sentences in Arabic. Very important. So this is how the structure looks like. So the structure is kalima, murakkaba naqisa, and then jumla. We have word, we have fragment, and we have sentences. This is the structure of Arabic language. And this needs to be put somewhere, untouched in your mind. It needs to be there because you would keep on referring to it so that anytime you see a kalima, you will identify that this one is a single kalima. And if it is a fragment, making up a one concept, then you know that it's a fragment. And if it's a sentence, you'll also identify that this is a sentence. So understanding the structure of the language this way, make it easy for us to understand the lugha itself, and that is the language. So don't forget, we have kalima, we have murakkaba naqisa, and we have jumla. These are the 3 stratification or the 3 levels of the Arabic language. Now let's take the first one, which is the kalima. The kalima, which is in English we say a word, in Arabic is of 3 types: ismun, fi'lun, harf. And a lot of the time we will be using them in the English transliteration. So we will say ism like this, fi'l like this, and harf like that. These are the 3 types of. So for all of us, definitely, as I said, these things are not new to you, but the vocabularies and the terminologies that we are using is what you would now have to take note of. Please allow me the benefit of taking you off the way you know your Nahaw, but just say that, okay, let me learn this new way of, identifying these terminologies, and let's go by that, okay? Because if you keep on bringing your ways of knowing Nahaw, you would be getting confused. But definitely whatever I will be saying, you will realize that it is in consonance with the terminologies and technical words that you know in Nahaw. So ism, fi'il, harf is known to anyone, but we will be using the word here, ism, fi'il, and harf. The definition of ism in this program is said to be the name of a person, a place, thing, idea, adjective, adverb, and more. So every name of a person, a place, a thing, an idea, an adjective, an adverb, they are all called ism. Now, ism is a word that indicates on a meaning in itself, and it's not linked to time, which means the word would have a meaning, but there's not issue about time. It's not stuck to any time, like Zaidun, Kitabun, Kamarun, Shams, Shajara. These words are all isms. So we say this is an ism, this is an ism, this is an ism. Why? Because this one is a name of a thing, this is a name of a person, maybe. Any other thing that you see that is under these, then you realize that it's an ism. So if you're somebody who knows English, then you realize that, okay, so a lot of the parts of speech that we know in English are actually isms. They are isms in Nahaw, right? Let's go to the next type of a word, fi'l. A fi'l is a word that has a tense, either past tense, future, or present. But it has also a doer, very important. It has a doer. So a fi'l is an action plus the doer. That's what we say. So it is a word that indicates on a meaning on itself, but it is also linked to time. So we say it's a word that is stuck to time, okay? stuck in time, as well as having a doer. A doer meaning it's not only the action like in English. And that's why in this course, we don't say a fi'l is a verb. That is absolutely wrong, because every fi'l has a fa'il. So we say fi'l, we don't say verb. Very important. Like nasara, yadribu, iftah, sami'a, yahsibu, and ukrum. These are all fi'ls. Let's go to harf. A harf is a word that makes no sense unless another word like ism or fi'l comes after it. Very important. Two words makes no sense. It has to be attached to a fi'l or an ism. That's harf. And it's a word that does not indicate on a meaning in itself, but rather in another. It has a meaning in another. We also said one thing about harf, and you need to take note of that. The harfs, they mainly have duty to do. They have work to do. They have job to do, right? So these are the harfs. So note this, ism, fi'il, harf. These are the three kinds of words that we would be learning. Good. Ism is refers to a person, place, idea, adjective, adverb, or more. The word or more is going to be explained later, and probably even not in this particular course, but you get to know them later. For instance, when you say a pronoun is also an ism, okay? Something we call ism al-ishara is an ism. Ism al-mawsul is an ism, for instance. All of them are in the more. For instance, when you say Maryam is a person, so it's an ism. You is an ism. Allah is an ism. Place is an ism, like Ghana, Mecca, Cairo. A thing like cat, it is an ism. Okay? Mango is an ism. Okay? An idea like what? Education, anger, Islam. These are all isms. An adjective like beautiful, big, fake. They are all isms. Adverbs like slowly, nicely, quietly. These are all isms. You'll all believe, you'll all agree with me. So isms are for persons, place, things, and ideas. These are the nouns, for instance, that you know in English, right? In adjectives, you know about colors, size, like colors, sizes, like beautiful, good. These are all, these are not nouns, no? These are unknown, they are not nouns, they are adjectives. But in English, in Arabic, we all call them isms. They all describe the nouns, okay? Because the number and gender do not change in that case, okay? In this case, in English, they say they are called adjectives. But in here, in Nahu or in Arabic, we call them isms. Adverbs, they are words that end with li. For instance, in English, like beautifully, increasing. These words are all adverbs and they are all isms. These describe how the verb happens, okay? Or how the verb is happening, okay? Not always though, okay? For instance, the word lovely and ugly are not adverbs, okay? They are not adverbs, but adjectives, right? And the more, for instance, when you say yesterday, yearly, always, these are all adverbs of time and places. They are all part of isms. Pronouns like who, which, pointers like this, that, those. These are all isms. So we call them asma or isms. So you realize that a lot of those, parts of speech that we know in English are actually part of ism. So what we say here is that ism is more than just a noun. Please note this. An ism is not a noun. An ism is more than just a noun. Okay, so you say the definitions on top of your heads, please. Try and say the definitions on top of your head. That an ism refers to a person, place, thing, idea, adjective, adverb, and more. Can you say that quickly? Please note this. I will ask this question and it's going to come to you unexpected. Fi'l. It refers to a word that has a tense, past, present, or future. We also say it's a word stuck in time, and the time can either be present, past, or future. Past, when you say he coughed. So he coughed is in past. So this is a fi'l. The word coughed is fi'l. He went is a fi'l. Okay, or he went is a fi'l. They said, these are all fi'l in the past. Okay, present, they stay. She is sneezing. All fail. Future, he will come. She may die. Sorry. This is all in future. And the future in Arabic is divided into forbidding as well as command. So we say wash, which is a command. Forbidding, don't go out, girl. This is forbidding. When you forbid somebody, is also part of future. And that's why some scholars will tell you that, in fact, in Arabic, there is nothing like future, but there is a command and forbidden. We will come to explanation of this, inshallah, in later times. But all these are af'al, okay? Madi, mudari, amr. And under the amr, you can have the amr as a command. Sorry, we don't call this amr actually. We call it mustaqbal, okay? Mustaqbal. And in the mustaqbal, we can have fi'l amr and fi'l nahi, okay? Inshallah. We'll learn about those. Fi'l, we say, is more than just a verb, but it is a verb plus a doer of the action. Don't forget this expression. A fi'l is not a verb. It's a verb plus the doer. Let's come to harf. Harf refers to a word that is incomplete unless followed by another word. A word that makes no sense standing alone unless there is another word after it. It cannot be by itself without an ism or a fi'l. For instance, all prepositions like at, on, in, they are all harfs. All conjunctions and, or, but, or, and but, they are all harfs. Articles, that's the determiners, like the, some, many, these are all harfs. Interjections, oh, boo, or oh, or well, these are all harfs. Don't forget what a harf is. A harf does not make sense without an ism or a fi'l. And under note, this is normally what we say. A harf is more than just a preposition. A harf is not only a preposition, okay? Now let's identify whether the words in the tables below are isms or fi'ls. Let's identify whether the words in the table below are isms, fi'ls, or harfs after we have actually gone through that. Now, you can text in your text box. This word, is it an ism or a fi'l? You can type in your text box. I want to see how you understand ism, fi'l, harf. Is this word an ism or a fi'l? Ism, very good. Is this word an ism or a fi'l? Abdul Rahman says it's a harf. Correct. Fi is a harf. Is this word an ism or a fi'l? Okay, is an ism. Okay. This word a fi'l or an ism? Is the word Lima an ism or a fi'l? Lima is the the capital of a particular country. Yes, is an ism, correct. Aliyan, loudly, is it an ism or a fi'l? Aliyan, who agrees? Is it an ism or a fi'l? Okay, very good. It's an ism because it's actually, you know, is it a fi'l? Mashallah. Aliyan is an ism. Very good. So we are moving because it's actually showing how an action happens, okay? And that is an ism. We say all adverbs are isms. Very good. Yasruhu, is it an ism? Yes, it's a fi'l. Thank you. Yasruhu is a fi'l. Salam, is it an ism or a fi'l? Salam. Salam. Okay, salam is an ism. Tawil. Tawil, is it an ism or a fi'l or a harf? Tawil. Why is Tawil an ism? Who can tell me? Why is it an ism? Why is Tawil an ism? Absolutely correct. It's an adjective. And adjectives are isms. Very good. Nama. 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 Is it an ism or a fi'l? Very good. Okay, maybe you can assist me with this. Tell me if it's an ism or a fi'l or harf, and then also give me the meaning so we will understand why you are saying is an ism, a fi'l, or a harf. Let's go to min. Min. Min, is it an ism or a fi'l or a harf? And what does it mean? Min from, yes, it's a harf. Correct. Correct. Ila, what does it mean? And is it an ism, a fi'l, or a harf? Very good. Very good. Ila is a harf. Good. Kutubun. Kutubun, what does it mean? And is this an ism, fi'l, or harf? Kutubun. Yes, it's an ism, books. Very good. Well, the meaning is already there, right? Yanamu. 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 Yes, it's a fi'l. Good. Nicely. 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 Is nicely a fi'l? Okay, it's an ism. What part of speech is it? What part of speech is nicely? Yes, you are caught now. Tell me. Is this an adjective or an adverb? No, yes, it's an adverb. Absolutely. It's an adverb. Yes, it's an adverb because it's explaining how an action happens. An adjective is describing a noun. Okay? So, yes, this is an adverb. Jazakallah khair. We are already done with the first segment. So let's quickly do this. Baka. Baka, is it a fi'l or an ism or a harf? Baka. Yes, it's a fi'l. Very good. Li. What about li? For. Is it an ism or a fi'l or a harf? Yes, it's a harf. Sama. 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 Sama is a fi'l. Maryam. Maryam. Definitely. Maryam is an ism. Is Maryam a fi'l? Okay, sorry. I thought I saw a fi'l there. Yes, ala is a harf. Very good. Thank you. The last one is he studied. Darasa. Darasa. Darasa is a fail. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much. The last thing I would like to share with you here. It's okay. It's okay. Hold on your fire. Hold on your fire. This is what I want to share with you. And this is actually a color-coded Quran or color-coded Juz'a Amma, which we use in S.A.I.D. Academy. And here you can see that this surah has been color-coded according to ism, fi'l, and harf. And all the reds are ism, all the greens are harfs, and all the purples are fi'ls. So you can see B is a harf. Ismillahir Rahmanir Rahim are all isms. And you realize that the alif and lam of Ar-Rahman is not colored because you cannot remove it from the Ismullah. The Asma Allah, Ismullah is only Allah, that is Ar-Rahman. But anyone can be Rahman, okay? But when you say Allah, it has to be together. And that's why the alif and lam is not separated here. Wailun is an ism. Li is a harf. Kulli is an ism. Humaza is an ism. Lumaza is an ism. Alladhi is an ism. Jama'a is a fi'l. Malan ism. Wa harf. Addada fi'l. Who is an ism. MashaAllah. Very interesting. Yahsabu is a fi'l. Anna is an harf. Mala. Who. These are all isms. Mala is a word. Who is a word. Akhlada, fi'l. Who is an ism. Kalla is a harf. La is a harf. Yumbadhanna is a fi'l. Fi is a harf. Al is a harf. Hutama, ism. Wa, harf. Ma is an ism. Adra is a fi'l. Ka is an ism. Ma is an ism. Alif lam of al-hutama is a harf. Hutama itself is an ism. Naru is an ism. Allah is an ism. Al here is a harf. Al-muqada is another ism, and so on. And so this is just a typical example of what we have just learned. And inshallah, we'll take a 5 minutes break. We'll come back and we will continue with the second fragment, the second segment, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. You have 5 minutes of a break, inshallah, and we will come back. Jazakumullahu anna kullal khair. But please make sure you come back at exactly 10:40. 10:40, we will be back. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Medina. Please, if anybody has a question or concern, the floor is open before Sheikh comes back. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. You are welcome back. Jazakumullah khair. So we will start once again or continue with the session, and we'll continue from where we stopped. Let me see if we can just start from there. Okay. Okay. Now, after what we have just learned, now just keep in your mind that where we are now, we are at the kalima stage. So we have a kalima or a word made up of three: ism, fail, harf. And there is no fourth one. It's either ism, fail, or harf. In Arabic, you cannot have a fourth one. Any word is either ism, fail, or harf. Now, what I will try to do now to test you if you understand it is, let's go into English, and then let's see if you will be able to identify an ism, fail, harf in the words that you actually mention in English or you read in English normally, and let's see what will happen. But remember this, don't be intimidated. Don't be intimidated. We are just rearranging our Arabic understanding, right? Now, we say here that if you do not know what a kind of word is, but you know exactly what it is not, then you are following the right thought process. Don't forget, the moment you realize that, no, this one, I don't know what it is, but it is not that, then you are good. Note, if you know that this word is not a fail, then you are good. But at least you, though you don't know if it's a harf or an ism, then you are actually following. So it's just a matter of trying to deduce. So this course that we are undertaking is not only going to teach us what it is, but we will also try to know what it is not. And by knowing what it is not, we will always try and have the concept straight in our understanding. Now, if a word is not an ism or a fail, then definitely is a harf. This is how simple it is, right? Again, so by elimination, you know, when you eliminate, when you say it's not an ism and it's not a fail, then close your eyes and say it's a harf. If you are sure it's not a harf and it's not a fail, then it's an ism, right? So that is how it goes. Now let's look here. Let's try to identify the kinds of words in this particular statement. We invited guests for dinner. They arrived early. I told my son to give them fruits and drinks, and I put the chicken in the oven hurriedly. He dropped the tray on the white carpet and the drinks spilled. Guests are coming again today. I will remind him to carry the tray carefully this time. Now, can you tell me, in your understanding, the word we, is it an ism or a fail? We. I also, with this, I would like for particularly those who are part of the support team, not to be answering these questions, but leave it to those who are actually joining and they are participants this time, please, so that we'll have the benefit more from what they do, right? Yes, that's what I want us to do. Please, those of you who I'm sure my support team, some of you are in there and some of you have gone through this program before. Try as much as possible, give the chance to those who are joining us this time for them to also get the understanding better, inshallah. So now let's go. So we, is it an ism or a fail, and why? Why is we an ism? You have to tell me what part of speech is for you to convince me. We, is it an ism or a fail or a harf, and why? So you see, you need to tell me what part of speech is to convince me. I don't agree. Yes, definitely is an ism because it's a pronoun. Very good, very good. I agree to that. Invited, is it an ism or a fail or a harf, and why? Yes, thank you very much, Mahmoud Sila. Fail, why is, okay, it's a fail. Why is it a fail? What did we say? Why is it a, no, we say it's not a verb. What we say is that, who can tell me why is it a fail? Why is it a fail? Exactly, there is an action and there is a doer. Very good. Or we say that because it is an action stuck in time. Because it, exactly, because it has it's in past tense, right? Very good. Because it has a tense. We can say because it has a tense or it is stuck in time, right? Or because it has a doer. If you add to that, in fact, you are excellent. You are even moving me higher. Very good. Guests, is it an ism, fail, or harf? Guests, ism, fail, or harf? And why? Guests. Is it an action? Guest is an ism. Why? Why is it an ism? What part of speech is it? Okay, here we don't say now. What did we mention? What did we mention in the definition? You have to be specific here. We said in the definition what? What did we say the definition is? Who can give me the definition quickly? The definition. What is the definition of an ism? Yes, that's how super intensive this can be. What is the definition of an ism? So I will not use the word noun because noun is not what I didn't use the word noun in my definition. What is an ism? Yes, so the flow has stopped because I'm looking for the definition of an ism. Yes, Adam Yakub. Yes, we say is an, yes. Name of a person, a place, an idea, an adverb, an adjective, or more. Yes, I like that. So what is this one? The guest, what is it in this case? Is the guest a thing? Is the guest a thing? Okay, so guests, what are they? Guests, what are they? Yes, it's somebody. I like that one. So it's somebody, because it's somebody is an ism. Very good, Hamida. Thank you so much. Let's go to the word for. For, is it an ism or a fail or a harf, and why? For. Harf, why is it an ism? Is it an ism, Usman? Are you sure it's an ism? It's a harf. Yes, it's a harf. Why is it a harf? Who can tell me why is a harf based on our definition? Absolutely, because it doesn't make sense on its own. Because it doesn't make sense on its own. It has an action to do. Dinner. Dinner, is it an ism or a fail or a harf? Yes, no meaning, Adam Yaqub. Thank you. Thank you, no meaning. Dinner, is it an ism, a fail, or a harf? Is an ism. I like that. They, the word they, is it an ism or a fail or a harf? They. Is they a harf? They. Yes, I like it because it's a pronoun. A pronoun is part of an ism. Very good. Arrived. Is it an ism, fail, or harf? Arrived. Fail. Very good. Early. Early. Yes, it's past tense. I like that. Thank you so very much for that. Early. Is it an ism, fail, or harf? And why? Ikram, the Suki you say is an ism. Yes. Why is it an ism? Why is it an ism? Absolutely. The adverb is an adverb. Adverbs are isms. I like that, Ibrahim. You are welcome. Now the tempo is going. Now let's go to I. I'm now going to select certain words. I'm not going to go through the document all so that it won't take more time. But let me select them now. The word I. Is it an ism, a fail, or a harf, and why? Yes, I want you to be using the terminology. Yes, because it's a pronoun. So pronoun is a part of speech. I like that. Very good. The word son. Is it an ism, fail, or harf? Son. Ism. Very good. Let me go to the word and. And. Is it an ism, fail, or harf? Why is it a harf? Why is it a harf? Yes, it's a conjunction. I like that. Thank you so very much. It's a conjunction. Usman Yahya is a conjunction. And so it doesn't stand on its own. Senseless. It needs another word to make a meaning. Very good. The word hurriedly. Hurriedly. Is it an ism, fail, or harf? Hurriedly. And why? Hurriedly. Yes, Ibrahim. Thank you. Hurriedly is an adverb. Ism. Very good. The word, this word, the. Is it an ism, fail, or harf? The. Why, Ahmad Khalifa? Why? Why, Tajuddin? Why is it a harf? Why is it a harf, Ikram? Why is it a, yes, it doesn't, it's an article. I like that. Very good. An article needs an ism or a fail to make a sense. Okay, very good. I don't think we have to go through all this, and I'm sure you are all capable and you will be able to go through that. But let me take the last one. This one, time. The word time, is it an ism, fail, or harf? Time, the last one, time. Is it an ism, fail, or harf? Time is an ism. Why? Is it a thing? Is the time a thing? Yes, it's an adverb. It's an adverb. What kind of adverb is that? We say the adverb of time, right? We have adverb of time and adverb of place. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you. So we have to run now. Good. We have a few minutes to go for this particular session. Let's say here, Arabic language is broken into ism, fail, harf. Now listen to me very carefully and leave. Please hold on with your fingers. It's okay now. Listen to me and watch the screen. We are moving. Arabic language is broken up into ism, fail, harf. The words, that is every word you see in the Quran, is actually made of either ism, fail, or harf. Please put this in our minds, okay? Good. And this is how the table looks like. So this particular word is the first one we are going to deal with, an ism, okay? We are going to deal with ism, and it has properties, okay? It has properties, and those properties are 4. So we are dealing with one part of the word, which is an ism. The properties of an ism is our status, number, gender, and type. Now note here, status, gender, number, type. This is an ism. But I don't want you also to forget this place. Or the whole of this we have discussed. Okay? But look at where the ism is. So we are looking at the ism, and we are looking at the 4 properties of an ism, right? Now, what we say is, keep the 3 kinds of words in mind. Note also that every Arabic word is either a word, every Arabic expression are made up of words. And those words can be 2 words to become a fragment given a certain concept. And those fragments and the words will end up being the sentences, okay? And then the sentences make the language. So don't forget what we are dealing with now. We are dealing with the first kind of the word, and that is ism, okay? Ism. Don't forget an ism. An ism, every ism has 4 properties. We say SNGT or SGNT. whatever you can call it, but these are the acronyms that we will be using. S means status, G means gender, N means number, T is for type, which is in Arabic, ismun, or adadun, or jinsun, or i'rab. Now note, the word i'rab here does not mean the analysis. The word i'rab means here the position of the word in the sentence. Of course, that's what i'rab is all about. When you are asked, do i'rab, what you are asked to do is to tell every single word in the sentence what is the status of the word in the sentence. And so the word status means i'rab, but not the analysis as a whole, but the position or the status. We call it the status. Okay, status. Okay. Now, so note this word SNGT. I will be making a reference to SNGT a lot of the time, which means status, number, gender, type. Status, number, gender, type. Status, number, gender, type. Every ism is defined by these four properties. Don't forget that. Note it down. Now, the status have three kinds of forms. Now we are taking only the status now. Status have three forms, either rafa, nasb, or jar. Don't forget, rafa, nasb, or jar. These are the status. For some of you who know the nahwu, we say halat al-i'rab, right? These are the ahwal al-i'rab. So halat al-i'rab is rafa, nasb, and jar. And this is how we will be denoting them going forward. R is rafa, N is nasb, and J is jar. Rafa, nasb, jar. These are the only three forms of status in Arabic. So halat al-i'rab thalatha, raf, nasb, wa jar. Don't forget this, it's very important. The status is the doer of an action. For instance, the doer is in the status of rafa. That's what we say. The detail or the done to is in the status of nasb. Maf'ul is in the status of nasb. And then the word after of is always in the status of jar. What is this word after of? The word after of is very interesting in this particular course, which is the possessive case. For instance, when I say kitabullahi, kitabullahi, we say the book of Allah. The book of Allah. So you realize that the word Allah, lafzul jalala, Allah, is after of in your translation. So because it is after of, in Arabic we say it has to be in a status of jar, because it is after of. Of course, there are other things that we are going to share, but we are giving you examples of how these three different forms of a status can be. So don't forget, status is halat al-i'rab, and we have only three types: rafa, nasb, jar. R for rafa, N for nasb, and J for jar. This is an example of those three forms. For a word to become in rafa status, we say it's either a doer or a subject. Of course, a doer if it's in jumla is fi'liya, if it's an action, kind of a sentence, or it's a subject like mubtada if it is the subject in a sentence, if it's a nominal sentence like jumla ismiya. So we say that it is in rafa status because it's either a subject or it's a doer. Don't forget that. But what is this word marfu? What does it mean? What is the difference between rafa and marfu? Rafa is the status. Marfu is the name given to the word in rafa status. Now note, rafa is the status, but when you say marfu'un, it's the name or identity given to a word that is in the status of rafa. Don't forget that. When we say the word is an object, then it is in nasb status. Now, when it is in a nasb status, we say that it is mansub. Mansub. Okay? That means this word is in the status of nasb. So we say mansub. And mansubs, mainly, they are the details of the act. Details of the act. Maf'ul, for instance. The maf'ul bihi is the detail of the act. What the action fell on. Okay, or who the action fell on. But in this course, you will be hearing nasb to denote the status, mansub to denote the identity of the word that is in nasb status. Again, the jar status is for a possessive case where a word is after of. We say the word is majroor. So majroor is the identity given to a word that is in jar status. Very easy, right? So let's look at these examples. Status examples. I ate too much chocolate. I ate too much chocolate. Okay? I ate too much chocolate. You realize that I is the doer of this action. So what actually we did here is that the doers, or what we call the status of Rafa, will always be the green, and then the yellow would be the Nasb, that is in Nasb status, and then the blue would be the Jarr status. Okay, so note that the green is Rafa, the yellow is Nasb, and then the blue is Jarr. I want us to understand the concept. It's very important. When you understand the concept, it's easy for you to apply that a doer of an action, the subject of an action, they will all be in Rafa status. The done to, or what we call the detail of an action, or the victim of an action, is always going to be in Nasb status, and it's known as Mansub. And if a word is after of, or it is preceded by a harf of jar, we will come to learn those, then it's called majrur. So this is the concept. If you are able to understand where to denote or how to denote the fa'il or the rafa word, the nasb word, and the jar word, then we are good to go. So when I say I ate too much chocolate, I am the doer, so I am a rafa status. Chocolate is what I ate, so it's a nasb status. My tooth, so my tooth is the word that did the action here. So started hurting, so it is hurting. So the word my tooth is the one which is hurting, so it's the doer here of the action. Badly is the way the teeth was hurting. And this one is also a detail of the action, right? It's a detail of the action. So it is nasb. The dentist is the doer or the fa'il. So we say this one is marfu'. Give me what? A filling. Filling is in nasb status because it is the done to or the detail of the action. The house of Allah. The house is the subject of Allah. Allah is after of, so it is majrur. I am the subject. I'm in the house. The house here is majrur because of in. We'll come to learn why is in causing this to be majrur. I ate apple. So I am the doer. I ate. Of course, ate is the fail. We are not dealing with it for now, but now we are dealing with the ism. So I am the doer, so I am rafa. I ate what? Apple is the detail or what I ate. Outside has to do with detail of what I ate. Yesterday has to do with the detail of what I ate. Quickly has to do with the detail of what I ate. You know, out of hunger, the whole of this has to do with the detail of what I ate. So they are all in nasb status. In the masjid. In the masjid. So in is a harf of jar. We'll come to learn it. So the masjid becomes majrur. And that's why it is blue. Of my area. My area, is the whole of that is in jar status. Why? Because it is a word after of. These are some of the ways to be able to denote the status, right? So for instance, we say a teacher entered the classroom, okay? A teacher is now the doer. The classroom that is entered is the done to, or the one that the action fell on. So in this case, this one is the rafa status. This one is in nasb status. So this one we say is marfu, and this one will say is what? Mansub. A student, the student of his, now note, a student of his. So the student being the subject here is in rafa status. Of his, because it's coming after of, is majrur. Was sleeping soundly. The word soundly is explaining how the sleeping was done. So it is mansub. So we said this is marfu, this is majrur, and this is mansub. The teacher threw a pencil. The teacher is the actor here. So it is marfu. A pencil is what is being thrown. So it is what? Mansub. The teacher's student. Now note, the teacher's student. So it's actually the student of the teacher. So the teacher is actually majrur in this case because it is the what we call the mudaf ilayhi. We'll come to learn about it. But because you see it here, you might be thinking it is in rafa status. But no, any word that is having an apostrophe is in jar status. Okay? Any word that is having an apostrophe possessed becomes in jar status. Okay, so it's majrur. And student is in this case marfu, and suddenly is mansub. Very good. So we'll stop here. We will quickly go and come back after 5 minutes for us to continue with our session. I hope we have learned something about the status of an ism, which is the halat al-i'rab, where there are only 3 types: rafa, nasb, and jar. Rafa denotes the subject or the doer. Nasb denotes the done to, or the detail, or the victim. And then the majrur denotes the word after of, or any word that is preceded by a harf that can cause it to be majrur. Okay, so we'll come back and we'll continue. Stay tuned, don't go away. You can ask your question with the co-hosts before we continue, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, shalla la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Thank you so very much for coming and staying on. I hope we are all fine and we are doing well and we are moving with the speed. Yes, I agree that it's a little bit fast, but I believe you are all capable. As I said, all what you have to focus on is the methods that I'm using, the vocabularies I'm using, and that's all. For the rest of the concepts, I'm sure you are all aware of it. You know, just pick up those methods and we are very, very much good to go, inshallah. Okay, jazakumullah khair. Let's continue with our slides. I hope you can see it now. Okay, okay. So what we did earlier on is to denote the status, and we said, don't forget, the status is one property of the ism. So status has to do with the ism. Number has to do with the ism. Gender has to do with the ism. Type has to do with the ism. These four properties, no ism, every kind of ism, you need to define it based on that, okay? For now, okay? We have it SNGT, now we are dealing with the S. So when I say SNGT, you should know what it means. It means status, number, gender, type. And the SNGT are the properties of an ism. And an ism is one of the three kinds of a word. The other two are fi'il and harf. Please, let's keep this in our mind. And that makes this particular course very important, that we always make sure that we have what we call the control and visibility of what we are doing, inshallah. Okay, now, this is a reminder. For instance, the messenger of Allah taught his companions universal virtues. You realize that in this particular statement, the messenger of Allah is the one who did the teaching. So we say the whole of the messenger of Allah is in rafa status. Of course, taught is a fail, so we are not dealing with a fail now. Leave it alone. Now, his companions are those he taught, okay? So the whole of his companions, okay? His companions, universal virtue is what the prophet taught. So the whole of this side will be in Nasb status. Why? Because it's the victim of the action. So every victim of the action, we say it's in Nasb status. And when it is Nasb status, we identify it as mansubun. So mansubun, why? Because the action fell on it. Marfu'un, why? Why is the messenger of Allah marfu'un? Because it is the one that did the action. Okay, so it's in rafa status. Okay, and then his companions is the companions of his, or what you can also arrange it in that manner, right? So we say that he or his is the maf'ul, or is the action where the action actually fell on. Okay, where the action fell on, the companion. Then his becomes in jar status because it's a word after of. If you do the translation, you realize that the is his will be after of, because it's actually the companions of his. Okay, so any word, as I said earlier on, with an apostrophe, okay, is always in jar status, right? So this is also another way to understand the rafa, nasb, and jar. Dawood killed Jalut. Dawood killed Jalut. You see, this is an expression. David killed Goliath. Okay, David is the killer, so he's in rafa status. Jalut is the one being killed, so he's in nasb status. Very easy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent his messenger. So Allah is the sender, so he's in rafa status. His messenger is in nasb status, okay? But the word his is actually in jar status. This one is in nasb status because the meaning is the messenger of his. So this word his is actually in jar status, okay? And that is why when you say Allahu arsala rasulahu, you say Allahu arsala rasulahu. So the who is his, and the who is mudaf ilayhi, and it's after of. That's why we say that his is in jar status, right? We'll come to know more about that. Now note this. We are now going to learn something called the ending sounds, okay? But the ending sound, which is the u-a-e, don't forget that, u-a-e, these are the sounds, okay? Those sounds matter so much in Arabic. In Arabic, they matter so much that, I mean, unlike English, We say in English, sequence of words don't matter. Oh, sorry, it's the other way around. Sequence of words in English matter in order to understand who did what. For instance, you can't say David killed Goliath in any other word in English without this arrangement. But in Arabic, it doesn't matter the arrangement, right? So this is what we are learning. So Qabil killed Habil, or when you say Talut killed Jalut, okay? When you say Talut killed Jalut or Qabil killed Habil, this is the only way it can be arranged in English. If you really means it's Qabil who did the killing or Talut who did the killing, right? You cannot arrange it any other way. But in Arabic, you say Qatala Qabilu Habila. The moment you say Qatala Habilu Qabilu Habila, you mean Qabil killed Habil. This one is having U, so it's in Rafa status, so it's the doer. This one is having A, so it's the done to, or the detail, or what we call the victim of the statement. So it's mansub, right? Now, in Arabic, you can actually bring Habil here and say Qatala Habila Qabilu. The meaning still stays the same. So you can bring Habil here. As far as you maintain the A on it, it's still the victim. It doesn't matter the position, right? It doesn't matter the position. You can bring this Habil here. You can bring it here, but it will still mean that the killing was done by Habil. In fact, this word Habil can even come before the qatal. And you say Habila qatala Qabilu. Habila will come even before the killing. And you say it is Habil that Qabil killed. The same meaning will stay. So it doesn't matter where they stand or where they are in the sentence, as long as this one is marfu' and this one is mansub and this one is the action, this will always be the doer and this will always be the victim. The same thing, Qatala Dawudu Jaluta. Qatala is the action. Dawood is the doer, so it's in Rafa status. It's having the O. This one is having the A. I'm sorry, you are the victim because you are having the A. That's what it means. If I take this A and put it on Dawood, and I say, Qatala Dawuda, Jalutu, just put the Dhamma on Jalutu. It's a very, very perfect Arabic statement, but it's not in the Quran. That means it is Jalut who killed Dawood. The moment you move the U to A, to this one, and you move the A to Dawood, it means it is Jalut who did the killing. So this concept of the ending sound is very important. You don't joke with it. And that leads us to, you know, the Nahu, the purpose for which we are learning this program. We say that the Quran needs to be understood and the concept of the language needs to be understood so that anyone cannot just stand and read the Quran, not taking care of this A-E-U, and then thinking that, oh, it is just his tongue, so he can just misplace them and use them anyhow. What happens is that they change the meaning of the verse. May Allah give us the understanding. So in Arabic sequence of words, we say do not matter. We need to look at the ending of the word to determine who did what. Very important. If you are able to figure out the action, look for the next Rafa ism or marfu, the word which is marfu. Wherever it is in the sentence, it doesn't matter if it is just before after the fi'l or far away. Just look at the Rafa ism, and that is the dua, and it will be in Rafa status, or it will be marfu. Rafa status means it's marfu. And then the ism in the Nasb status is the detail, or the done to, or the victim, wherever it is. It doesn't matter where it is. If it is mansub, it is the victim, or it is the detail of the action. It can never be the action. Why? Because it is mansub, right? There are two types of ending of an ism. Now let's come to another phase. We have two types of ending of an ism. So it is not about only the U-A-E. Okay? Note, the endings can vary. It's not about the U-A-E, even though the U-A-E are the primary ones. So there's something we call the sound for a singular or mufrad, okay, looking ism. Any ism that looks mufrad would have a sound, right? For instance, u or un. A word with such ending is said to be in rafa status and is identified as what? Marfu. So marfu is the identity, but the status is what? Rafa. Don't forget these terminologies. We have rafa as the status, marfu'un as the identity of the word in the rafa status. Very important. Now, we have a or an. We'll come to learn why a and an. What is the difference between the two, inshallah. A word with a word with such an ending is said to be what? In nasb status and identify as mansub. So a word with a or an is mansub. That's what we say, right? Then the word with e or in. A word with such an ending is also is in jar status and is identified as what? Majrur. So we have learned three things, three different identities now: majrurun, mansubun, and marfu'. A word becomes majrur if it is in jar status, becomes mansub if it is in nasb status, and it becomes marfu' if it is in rafa status. Very, very important terminologies. Or, now this is the second types of ending. It's not only the an, a, or un, u, or in, e. We can have something called the ending combination, the combination of sounds and letters. For instance, muthanna doesn't have the a, e, u. Jam'u also doesn't have the a, e, u. Of course, here I'm talking about a particular kind of jam'u. We'll talk about it later. Okay, so all the endings can either be sounds or, number two, it can be combination of sounds and letters, right? So for instance, pair words have ani or at the end. That is if it is in nasb or jar status, right? So we have ain or ai or aini. So ani and if in rafa status, but I or aini if it is in nasb or jar status. A word, for instance, when I say waladani, waladani is in rafa status. It can be mubtada, it can be fa'il. Walada hamidin. So walada is also in rafa status, but it's having a without the noon. The noon has dropped for a reason. That reason is not the topic today. But ani and denote rafa status. But these are known not as sounds, but what? Ending combinations. That is in rafa status. In nasb and jar, you have aini or ai. Okay? Ra'aytu waladay hamidin. Ra'aytu waladay hamidin. Or darabtu waladaini. Darabtu waladaini. So it can be aini or I, definitely I, because it is mudaf. When it comes mudaf, the noon drops and so on. So here what I'm trying to say here is that you have the ani and as ending combinations. These are kinds of ending of a word. Or I or aini, an ending combination, but this is in the case if it is in nasb or jar status. For pair. What about for plural? Plural words that are normal. Now note, I say normal plural words. Okay? There will be, that's masculine, like una and u, like muslimuna. Haulai muslimuna, these are Muslims. Haulai muslimu ghana, muslimu ghana. It's still in rafa status, but it's the noon has dropped. Ra'aytu muslimi ghana, ra'aytu muslimi ghana. Or innal muslimina. Innal muslimina is nasb status or jar status. Okay, nasb status or jar status will be either e or ina, right? And then we have what we call plural feminine. This is plural masculine and this plural feminine. The plural feminine has these endings, atu and atun. Atu and atun, both are in rafa status. And atin and atin, or sorry, this one's supposed to be, yes, atin or ati. This is ati, note, this one is having one kisra, and this one is having one dhamma, and this one is having two kisra, and this one is having two dhamma. So if it is ati, then we say that it is in a light form. tin is heavy. We'll talk about this, but these are the two forms that the Nasb and Jarr can assume. These are the two forms that the Rafa and Nasb, sorry, the Rafa can assume for a feminine plural word or ism, right? So we have a difference between these plurals. If it is if it is masculine or feminine. Masculine endings with una or u in Rafa status, aini and e or yes, an e in Nasb or Jarr status. Then for the feminine plural, they end in atun or atu, or atin or ati in Nasb and Jarr status. And then we have this weird one, broken plural. What is broken plural? It's also plural, but it's broken. What is broken? We'll come to learn it. It's called Jamu Taksir. You all know it. Broken plurals, they look more like singular. Okay, so in the Rafa, they have the u and un. In Nasb, they have the a and an, and in Jarr, they have the e and in. Don't forget, we have something called broken plurals. We have plurals that are feminine, plurals that are masculine, and then plurals pair. All of these three take ending combinations. But the plural that is broken has ending sound. Don't forget. Okay? And this is a table that you will find very, very interesting. And I will post it on your WhatsApp page for you to be able to see the summary that we have done for the status of or the three status that we are having: Rafa, Nasb, and Jarr, and what kinds of words can assume such endings. Don't forget, how to tell this Rafa, Nasb, Jarr is to look at the ending sound and the ending combination. You cannot tell with any other way. You can't look at the beginning of the word to tell the status or the status of an ism. You need to look at the end. And the end can be of two types: having a sound, u, a, I, or having a combination of sound and letters, like what? Ani, aini, una, or I and ina, or atin, atin, or atun and atin, and so on. These ones have to do with the plural and pair, and the sounds has to do with singular or broken plural. I'll share this particular table for you to see. Finally, in this particular segment, we look at what we have up here. What we say here is that you have a mufrad, or the number singular, and then we have the different kinds of jamus, no? And then we have the pair, and then the plural. So what is here in singular form actually denotes or shows you the un, an, in bit. Okay, so un, an, in. Okay, or u, a, I. In this case, we say that this word is heavy. In this case, we don't say this is light. I will tell you why. Even though, because if having alif and lam, there shouldn't be alif and lam here. But we don't say it is light. We say this one is irrelevant because of the alif and lam. But normally, without the alif and lam, it should be without the alif and lam. Then it will be what? Light. It will be light without the alif and lam. Okay. But these two is in Rafa status, or these two are in Rafa status, and these two are in Nasb status. The only difference between this and that is that one is having double accent, the other one is having a single accent. But we say this one is heavy, but we say this one is irrelevant. We don't say this is light. We don't say this is light. Note, I will tell you why we don't say it's light. But actually, when it comes to the heavy or light of an ism, one would be having double accent, the other one will be having a single accent. But in this case, there is a typo here. The alif and lam shouldn't have come, so that we will note that this one is light. But what we need to know here is this line is in Rafa, this line is in Nasb, and this line is in Jarr status. Okay, and then we call them majrurun, mansubun, marfu. This is in case if it is singular and the ending is having a sound. Note, the ending is having a sound. Why? Because it is mufrad. Okay, let's look at this jamu. Muslimuna and muslimu. Muslimuna, una, denotes that it is Rafa. U denotes that it is Rafa, so marfu. Ina and E, maybe we should have gone to the pair, right? first. Let's go to the pair. This is the singular and this is the pair. This is the singular and this is the pair or dual. Okay, so we say Muslimani and Muslimani because of the noon or alif and noon, it is rafa. Because of the it is rafa. So both of them are in rafa status. One is heavy, one is light. That's what we say here. Heavy, light. Muslimaini, Muslimai, they are both in nasb status, right? They called mansub. Muslimaini and Muslimai jar status. That's why we say the ai and aini are both in the same state. For nasb and jar, they take the same shape. So ani is not a sound. It's an ending combination. Is one of the ending combinations. Okay, but in this case, an, in are ending sounds. So we have ending sounds and ending combination. Okay, ending combination for masculine plural. Una, u for rafa. Ina, i for nasb. Ina, i for jar. So we call it majrur, mansub, and marfu. If it is feminine, we have atun, atu, atin, ati, atin, ati for rafa, nasb, jar, respectively. If it is broken plural but human, okay, human, we say what? Rusulun, rusulu, marfu. Rusulan, rusula, mansub, rusulin, rusuli, majrur. So you can see that this one is also having an ending sound like this one. Okay, so it's not having an ending combination. It's having un and in. It's just like singular, but it is what? Plural, jamu taksir. It's a broken plural. Why is it broken? We say it is broken because it does not maintain the form of the singular. The singular of the word rusulun is rasulun with a waw. But when it comes to the plural, the waw drops. That breaks it. So that's why it's called broken. It's broken because it does not maintain the singular form. So we say rusulun is broken plural. Well, if it's a broken plural, then it will act like a singular. So it will have an ending sound, not combination, right? Even though it's plural. So this is an example of it. Rafa, nasb, jar. If it is also a non-human broken plural, this one is a human broken plural, this one is non-human broken plural. Of course, because Rasul is a human being. Qalamun is not a human being, okay? So there is also a non-human broken plural. It also dealt like a singular. Qalamun is the singular. But look at the plural. Qalamun, qalamani, aqlamun. So aqlamun is a break in the form of the singular. That makes it broken. That's why it's called mukassar. It's called jamu taksir ay kussira shaklil mufrad. That's what we say. Now, so aklamun is a plural word of qalamun. It's a broken plural, so it is treated like singular. So the rafa will have un or u, an or a for nasb, and then in and e for jar status. We will end here. We have learned within this period this how to identify or how to tell the rafa, nasb, and jar. And in short, we said that the rafa, nasb, and jar can be detected in two ways. Either by a sound, ending sound, that is in the case where it is singular word, or broken plural, non-human and human, right? And it can be identified with ending combination if it is pair, that's muthanna, or jam muzakkar salim, or jam muannas salim. That is where we have the ending combination. Why combination? Because there are sounds and some letters that denote the rafa, nasb, and jar. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. The next 5 minutes, we'll come back to continue our discussion. Jazakumullah khair. Stay on, don't go away. You have the co-hosts to assist. I'll get back to you in 5 minutes. Assalamu alaikum.
How many times do you type A.D.? Can
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome back again. Thank you very much for holding on. We have only one segment to go now, and inshallah that will be the close for the day, inshallah. So bear with me for the next 15 minutes or so, and let's finish today's discussions. Now, don't forget, for now, where we are, we started by giving the structure of the language, Arabic. And then we said that for us to understand how this language works, we need to understand the totality of it. How really do we approach it when we do the Nahu? We said it is of 3 stratas, okay? 3 different levels or stratas: the word level, the fragment level, and the sentence level. Until you are able to identify this and put it to your mind, you will still be in a loss. So at the word level, we have 3 kinds of words: ism, fail, harf. At the fragment level, we have not dealt with that yet, but we will come to deal with that. We have 5 different kinds of fragments. And then below, down there, we have the kinds of sentences, and there are only 2. So 3, 5, 2. Put this in your mind: 3, 5, 2. Normally, I always say that it's like a football team. We have the word at the top as the keeper, we have the 3 defenders, and you have the 5 midfielders, and you have the 2 strikers, right? Like a football pitch. So put it like that in your mind, that there's a word which has 3 people in front of it, okay? Ism, fail, harf. And then we have fragments, 5 of them in the middle, and then we have the strikers. That are the sentence. Of course, the ayah of the Quran are all made of sentences, but those sentences, if you go back, they are made up of fragments and words. So put this in your mind. Now, then we came to look at one kind of the word, and that is an ism. So all we have been dealing with today is an ism. We said the ism has 4 properties. It has status, number, gender, and type. And we use the acronym SNGT for it. Today, we are dealing with the status, only the status, and we are left with only one or two aspects of the status. What do we say we need to know about the status? One thing to know about the status, there are actually four things to note. The first one is the form. How many forms does it have? Only three. Rafa, Nasb, Jarr. That's the form that the status can take. Only three kinds of forms. Okay. So halat al-i'rab thalatha. Rafa, Nasb, Jarr. That's what we say. So it has three status or three kinds of forms in a status. And the status itself, how to tell the status is what we have just discussed. How do you tell a status? You tell a status by looking at two major things: sounds or combinations of letters and sounds. You look for sounds if the word is a singular word or it is a broken plural, either human or non-human. We look for ending combinations if the word is pair, muthanna, or jam' muzakkar salim or jam' muannas salim, which we call the plural masculine or the plural feminine, normal plurals, right? If we have this in our mind, then we come to the next thing I'm going to discuss now. The third thing, which is it heavy or light? I've touched on that a little bit, but I'll go on that. Is the ism heavy or light? And that's when we say Muslimun and Muslimu. So Muslimun is heavy because of the n sound. Muslimu is light because it's Muslimu, lighter than Muslimun. Muslimuna is heavy, but Muslimu is light. So anytime the n sound drops, either as a result of the tanween or as a result of having the noon, if it is pair or plural, or so we say that it is light. So light and heavy is actually not a lot of things to think about, but it's just about dropping the noon. Why do we make it light? We are coming to learn about that, inshallah. Okay. So after knowing the light and heavy aspect of the ism and knowing about how to tell the ism as well as the three forms of an ism, now we are coming to learn the last thing about an ism, which is a little bit complicated, but you have to bear with me and go with me nicely, and that is the flexibility of an ism. Flexibility of an ism, and that's what we are going to look at now. Let's go to my screen. I have it here. Okay, so this is where we are. This is where we left from, right? I'm not sure where we left. Okay, yeah, this is where we were. Now we have learned. Okay, we have seen these Rafa, Nasb, Jarr, and in all the different numbers. You know, note, even as we are learning, you know, you remember I told you about the number and then the gender and type. But you realize that even now we are talking about numbers because this is singular, this is dual, and this is plural. So we are already learning about numbers. So don't forget that. But let's go back to where we are. Now, what we are going to learn is flexibility. What is flexibility of an ism? Flexibility of an ism simply means how the ism shows its ending. Does it show all the U, A, E? Or it doesn't? Or it sometimes show, but sometimes doesn't show. That's the flexibility, okay? I'm sure some of you who know the Nahu will be talking about, you know, we'll be thinking about what it is then we know about. But here we are talking about how, yani, mada tasrif al-ism, mada tasrifihi min al-rafa ila al-nasb or ila al-jar. Is it mamnu' min al-sarf, or is it partially masruf, or is it masrufun bil kamil? So we have three forms of an ism when it comes to its flexibility. Flexibility in terms of the forms it takes, the shape it takes, the sound it takes, and so on. So we said there are three categories of flexibility considering the nature of an ism, right? So an ism can either have rafa, nasb, or jar as a form, or how we tell the form. In this case, we spoke about the ending sound and ending combination, don't forget. And then heavy or light, we just spoke about this. So all these three we have dealt with. We have dealt with the forms, rafa, nasb, jar. We have dealt with how to identify the form, and it is through the ending sound or ending combination. Or we have also dealt about the ending itself, if it is heavy or light. Okay? Now, the third one is flexibility. What is flexibility? Flexibility is the acceptance of the word of these three forms. Would it be u, a, I at the end? For instance, when I say Muhammadun, Muhammadan, Muhammadin, you can see that the flexibility is what? Full. Full. But when I say Ibrahimu, I can't say Ibrahimi, but I can say Ibrahima. I can't say Ibrahimi because in Arabic, that word does not take kisra. So it is partly flexible. We say partly flexible because it takes the u and the a, but it doesn't take i. So we say here that it is having the u a a. We say u a a. U a a means what? The three forms will be u a a. U in the rafa status, a in the nasb status, and a also in the jar status. So that is the meaning of flexibility of an ism. So these are the four things you remember that we look for when we are considering the analysis of an ism. Okay. This is what we discussed earlier. I've just shared this with you. What is heavy and light? Normally, an ism should be heavy. Normally, it should have the an, in, ani, ina, or aini, and atun. It's actually, I mean, that is normal. Every ism, by default, if I can use that word, by default is heavy. Okay? But an ism is made light by removing the extra n sound. Okay? So you do this by removing the double accent of the tanween or by removing the extra nun at the end of it. So we say muslimu instead of muslimuna, and we say muslima instead of muslimani, or muslimu instead of muslimun, or qanitatu instead of qanitatun, for instance. So it makes it light and heavy. So it's very easy. Now note, alif and lam does not like tanween. Now note, every ism that is having alif and lam can never take tanween. However, an ism with alif and lam is not considered light. You don't consider it light just because it's not having the at the end. But what we say is that if an ism is having an alif and lam, note this, it is termed irrelevant when it comes to its heaviness or its lightness. Don't forget this. If an ism is having alif and lam, the issue of it being heavy or light is irrelevant. Note that, very important. Okay, so now let's go to our topic. Then we look at the Muslim chart. This is what we call Muslim chart. Please, one way or the other, I don't know how you can do this. It is in your book. Go and try and get this Muslim chart in your mind. Memorize the table. How does the table move? It moves by having the numbers, having the status. So this is the status, line of the status. This is the line of the number, okay? And then we can consider it being in the gender of masculine or feminine. But this table needs to be put in the mind. Anytime we do Nahaw, we'll be considering this type of structure. Rafa, Nasb, Jarr, Mufrad, Muthanna, Jamu. Rafa, Nasb, Jarr, Mufrad, Muthanna, Jamu. It will be continuous in our discussion. So don't forget these ash areas, okay? Note them down and let them stick in our minds that we will always be using this format to do a lot of things, okay? Okay, Rafa, Nasb, Jarr, and then singular, Mufrad, Muthanna, Jam, or singular, pair, and plural, okay? We have discussed this one earlier, so I'm not going to go through it. Now let's look at flexibility of an ism. There are three categories of flexibility. Okay, sorry, we just finished this. Okay, we say that an ism can either be fully flexible, which means it accepts the u, a, I at the end of the status, respectively. Respectively means what? U for Rafa, A for Nasb, and I for Jarr. That means this word is fully flexible. When we say it's non-flexible, it means it does not accept any of the u, a, I at the end. Nothing. Like Musa, or Yahya, or Kubra. These words are having a certain sound at the end that makes them non-flexible. Non-flexible means they don't show the signs at the end. They don't show those sounds. Or they are partly flexible, When we say they are partly flexible, it means they took the U and A, but they don't take E. We will come to note what kind of words can take U, A, but cannot take E, but can always be A, even at the E status. Okay? These three different categories of flexibility is very key. Okay? Fully flexible, non-flexible, partly flexible. Okay? These are what we are going to learn now. Fully flexible. What makes a word fully flexible? We say in Arabic, most words are fully flexible and they can be heavy or light. Fully flexible means what? When I say kitabun, I can say kitabun, kitaban, kitabin. And I can also say kitabu, kitaba, kitabi. So it can be heavy and it can be light. And it can take all the u, a, I. That's what it means to be flexible. And it can show all the basic status. The basic forms of the status. When I say basic forms of the status, you need to know this, that because this fatha, kasra, dhamma are not the only signs. We mentioned now that there are ending combinations too. So they are not the only signs, but they are the basic ones. For Rafa, Nasb, and Jarr, and that is fatha, kasra, and dhamma. Okay. So this particular aspect needs to be understood with these 3 points. That fully flexible ism means it can be heavy and it can be light, and it can show all the 3 signs of Rafa, Nasb, and Jarr. That is dhamma, fatha, and kisra. When we say it's non-flexible, we say it takes only one form. That's what it means. It takes only one form. And it looks the same in all the statuses. So in Rafa, Nasb, Jarr, it's the same. Okay. Some words that are non-flexible are like this. Isa. So the here, or dunya. The here tells you that it cannot show. Okay. I will say ishtu fi dunya. You cannot say ishtu fi dunya because of the fi. You put a kasra there because there's half a jar. Or ra'aytu Isa. Isa is still having even though it is the dantu or detail. Fatah cannot come here. Darabani Isa. Isa is the one who hit me. It's supposed to be in Rafa status with an U, but it doesn't show. So we say it is what? Non-flexible. Okay. So non-flexible isms are the isms that end with this kind of alif. Okay. Now the singular, okay. What about the singular and the plural pointer words? What are the pointer words? Pointer words are the demonstrative pronouns like hada, hadihi, haulai, dhalika, tilka, ulaika. These words are all what? They are also considered to be non-flexible, which means hada can never be hadi or hadu, or it's always hada. So that is the meaning of being non-flexible, either the near ones or the far ones. Okay, we all know this. I don't need to go through this. Ism mawsul, all the asma al-mawsul are also non-flexible. Alladhi, alladani, alladina, allati, allatani, allai, aw allati, ma man. Okay, of course, alladani and allatani, these ones are partly flexible. Why? Because this one can be alladaini. That's why this one is astericized, right? Only these two. Okay, if they are, that's why here I said the singular form, okay, and the plural forms, they are all non-flexible, but the pair can be flexible because it can have, I can say allataini and alladaini, okay? So it is partly flexible in this case, right? Now, these are the partly flexible. Let's come to the partly flexible. Partly flexible means it cannot be heavy and cannot take kasra. That's the meaning of partly flexible. It can't be heavy, which means you can not say Ibrahimun, Sulaimanun. It can't be heavy. And it cannot also take kasra. Okay? Of course, the reason why a word is partly flexible is another topic altogether, and the details will come later. But for us to understand that there are certain isms that cannot take kasra and cannot be heavy. For now, let's take it like that, okay? Now, it has only 2 forms. They are, if it is in Rafa status, it has U, and if it is in Nasb status, it has A, and if it is also in Jarr status, it takes A. So this is a closer look at the partly flexible isms. Words that are partly flexible, they are what? Proper names of all places are partly flexible, whether Arab or non-Arab. Okay? So the name of any place is partly flexible, and that's why you can you can say Iraqu and Iraqa and Iraqi. So Iraqa, you can't say Iraqi, because Iraq is a name of a place. Okay? Iraq is a name of a place, so you can say Iraqu, Iraqa, and Iraqa, because it's a name of a place, so it's partly flexible. Okay? That's what we say here. But note, let me make this note. Maybe it's not in the slides. Any name of a place that can be attached with alif and lam, then it will be fully flexible. Isn't that a very interesting one? Any name of a place that can accept alif and lam can be fully flexible. And that's why you can say al-Pakistanu and al-Pakistana and al-Pakistani. But if you remove the alif and lam there, it becomes partly flexible. It can take only u and a. Okay? So these are exceptions when it comes to the names of places. Names of places that are having 3 letters only, those ones are going to be fully flexible. Okay, so generally names of places are partly flexible, but if they have 3 letters, they will be fully flexible. For instance, Makkah, okay, is an Arab, is a name of a place in an Arab land. Okay, it is more than 3 letters, so it's partly flexible. So you say Makkatu in Rafa, Makkata in Nasb, and Makkata in Jarr. But Pakistana, Pakistanu, Pakistana, because though it's a non-Arab country, place, but it is also more than 3 letters, so it's partly flexible. But as I said, the word Pakistan can have alif and lam, like Iraq. Okay, in this case, it becomes fully flexible. Please note this. Okay, now the word Aden, Adnun, Adnan, Adnin. This one is fully flexible. It takes the U-A-E. Why? Because it's a 3-letter word, even though it's a name of a place. So that is the meaning of the partly flexible of name of a place. Non-Arab names are also partly flexible. Non-Arab names, right? Now, based on a hadith by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, there are only 4 Arab prophets mentioned in the Quran, and they are Muhammad ﷺ, Hudun, Salihun, and Shu'aib. So these 4 names can be Muhammadun, Muhammadan, Muhammadin, Hudun, Hudan, Hudin, Salihun, Salihan, Salihin, Shu'aibun, Shu'aiban, Shu'aibin. Apart from these 4, all other prophets' names in the Quran are partly flexible. So because these are Arab names, the rest are not. Okay? These are the exceptions in this particular ruling. Arab names, prophet names that are spelled with 3 letters, like Nuhun. Even though Nuhun and Luthun are not Arabs, but they are also fully flexible. Why? Because they have 3 letters. And the middle, well, they have 3 letters for now. So you say Nuhun, Nuhan, Nuhin, Luthun, Lutan, Luthin. Okay, so it becomes also what? Fully flexible. But generally, names of all the prophets are, the non-Arab prophets are what? Partly flexible. That means they cannot take Kisra and they cannot be light. Okay, good. And this is an example. So you say Muhammadun, Rafa, Muhammadan, Nasb, Muhammadin, Jarr, an Arab name. Ibrahimu, Ibrahima, Ibrahimi, non-Arab name. Nuhun, Nuhan, Nuhin, non-Arab, but it's having 3 letters. So it is fully flexible. This is an example. With it, I think we are going to end this particular session. So we are going to do this very quickly, even though our time is ending, but we are going to take 5 maybe quickly for us to finish this session. Let me take the name Musa. Who can tell me, is it fully, partly, or non-flexible? I'm talking to only the participants that are new to this topic. I don't want my team members here to answer any question. Musa, is it fully, partly, or non-flexible? Musa, is it fully flexible, partly flexible, or non-flexible? Yes, it's non-flexible. Why? Why is it non-flexible? Why? Yes, Ikram, thank you. Sakina and Abdurrahman and Nasiba. Why? It's a non-Arab name. Okay. In fact, it's having 2 things there. Not okay. It's very good. I mean, it looks as if we are learning. Absolutely, Abdurrahman Tajuddin. It's having the R at the end, and it's also a non-Arab name. Very good. That means it is non-flexible. Very good. Let's come to the word Yusuf. Is it F-P-O-N? F-P-O-N, Yusuf. This one, number 3. Yusuf, is it F-P-O-N, and why? It's partly. Tajuddin says it's partly. Usman says it's partly. Ibrahim says it's non-Arab. Yes, but is it partly or fully or non-flexible? That's the question. Rayhana says it's partly because it's non-Arab. Absolutely correct. That is what I want. It's, yes, Ibrahim is partly flexible. It's partly flexible because it's what? It's a non-Arab name. Very good. Very good. Let's go to the word Fir'aun. Fir'aun. Is it fully flexible, partly flexible, or non-flexible? And why? Fir'aun. Abdurrahman Tajuddin says it's partly, really. Okay, partly non-Arab. I like that. It is partly non-Arab. Okay, let's come to the word al-untha. Al-untha. Thank you, Ikram. Thank you. Al-untha. Al-untha. What is it? Is it fully flexible, partly flexible, or non-flexible? Okay, Abdurrahman says none. Why? Why? Why is it non-flexible? Yes, it's ending with R. It's ending with R, and a word ending with R is also said to be non-flexible. Very good, very good. Let's go to the word Dallas. This word, Dallas. Is it partly, fully, or non-flexible? Partly, fully. Abdurrahman says partly. Ibrahim says non-flexible. Abdurrahman says non-flexible. Why? Because it's an Arab name. Interesting. Ibrahim, why are you saying it's it's non-Arab? What is it? It's fully. I like that. Dallas. Dallas is the name of a place. So it's the name of a place. So is it fully or non-flexible? And why? Yes, it should be partly flexible because it is a name of a place. Finish. And it is more than 3 letters. Yes, it's partly flexible. It's partly flexible because it's a name of a place and more than 3. So it can be Dallasu and Dallasa and Dallasa. It cannot be Dallasi. Okay? Dallas is a name of a place in America. Let's come to the word Ibrahimu. This will be our last one. Ibrahimu. You can go and test yourself in the rest. The word Ibrahimu. Usman Yahya says it's partly. Why? Why? Please give me the reason. Yes. Adam Yaqub. Rayhana says, Ikram says non-Arab. Yes, it's partly because it is a non-Arab. So we can say Ibrahimu and Ibrahima and Ibrahima, but you cannot say Ibrahimi or Ibrahimun and so on. Jazakumullah khair. That will be the end of today's discussion. Inshallah, tomorrow we are going to look at the number. So today we have finished the status. Everything about the status of an ism is done. Tomorrow we will look at the status and I will communicate to you exactly where we are going to cover in our book. That will be all for today. Today we have learned very, very important things. The structure of the language made up of words, fragments, sentences, and then we took the word and said there are 3 types: ism, fi'l, harf. We pick up the ism alone and we discuss the 4 properties of an ism. We picked only part 1 of the properties, and that is the status. We said the 4 properties are status, number, gender, type. We have taken only the status. To look at the status, we said we consider 4 things. We will consider the form, either Rafa, Nasb, or Jarr. We also consider how we can tell the form, and it's either by looking at the ending sound or ending combination. And we've also looked at how heavy or light it is. Either it can take the an, in, or it can only take a, I, u, or una, ina, or u, I, a, and so on. And the final one is the flexibility. If the ism can take or can show all the sounds at the end, like u, a, I, or it can show part of it, but not others. and then also if it cannot show at all. So this is all about the status of an ism. Tomorrow, for the status of an ism. Tomorrow we are going to look at the number, gender, and type of an ism. Be with us tomorrow, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the benefit of what we have learned. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.